and you're watching In a Nutshell with Almond. And today we're talking about pro-democracy activists, giving you guys some updates on where they're right now and what have happened to them in the past week to some of the pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. Now, thank you so much for joining this show. Like I said, this is a weekly show that gives you all the Hong Kong updates that you need to know, no matter that's political or non-political, COVID-19 related. That's a show that you need to watch to catch up on what's happening in Hong Kong. Hi, Pablo. Thank you so much for joining. And if those who have followed the comment sections, we have a special bonus session for you guys later on in the program. So make sure you stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. It's non-political, but it's really fun. And so I really hope you guys could join me later on. And of course, joining me right now as well. All right, so let's get to it. And I'm really happy that right now in Hebs, we have this screen share option that we can just, sometimes I can just show you news articles or websites, a Facebook page that I've been, monitoring and things like that. So, all right, let's get to it. So the first thing that I want to tell you guys about is the 12 Hong Kongers who have been detained in Shenzhen. They have now been detained for more than 110 days, 120 days now in Shenzhen, and they were originally caught allegedly in mainland waters by mainland marine police because they were trying to cross the border illegally, and reports say that they were actually en route fleeing to Taiwan, so via water transport, and all of them have cases in Hong Kong. They were facing charges including rioting, arson, possession of weapons, and things like that. Let me just show you this real quick. So this, I'm going to show you this Facebook page is actually, it's called Save Hong Kong, Save 12 Hong Kong Youths. It's pretty much a concern group page on Facebook by some concerning like politicians as well as their family members. And from time to time, they would post stuff related to 12, for example, when they receive a letter from one of those detainees, and what was the latest update in regards to, lawyer appointment and things like that. So the latest post that they have was 18 hours ago, and these are in Chinese, but I'm going to translate it for you guys. So basically, the latest that they have is that the government-appointed lawyer have contacted those family members of the 12 protesters, saying that, and so they wrote letters to their families. But the concern group and their family members are saying that, well, we think those so-called handwritten letters are very dubious because the content of those letters, first of all, they are that the detainees were asking their families. So this is the first point. They said that they want their family members to, on behalf of them, confess to the charges that they're facing in Hong Kong, which is weird in a sense because they are not, like, the charges they're facing in mainland is regarding to crossing the border illegally. So it's a totally separate thing, and not to mention that Hong Kong and the mainland have two different legal systems. So you can't just say, and the law here is that you have to confess on your own to the police, to the law enforcement, saying that I did this and I did that, to count it as a confession. So and the family members are also saying that they were when they were interrogating the detainees, they were asking a lot of things about like Hong Kong protests and etc. And some of them have their bank accounts being canceled. So that's the latest update that the concerned groups. So these are some people, these are some family members of those detainees, and including some politicians who are not in hats and not all in all black. Those are former lawmakers and other just politicians, counselors who have been helping these families to get in touch with their family members detained. And so this is the press conference that they've given just a day ago on the latest. So this page is about the Safe, again, it's called Safe Hong Kong Youths, Safe 12 Hong Kong Youths. It's a concern group. And so that is that update on the 12 Hong Kongers. I'm seeing this comment. Giovanni, what happened to all the protesters? So these 12 Hong Kongers are part of the, let me just stop this screen share real quick. So all these protests, all these 12 people, they are believed to be protesters, anti-government protesters who have actively participated in the anti-extradition movement in the past year. And most of them have been charged with a certain crime, for example, like I said earlier, rioting, arson. Excuse me on my phone, I'll put it on silent right now. Yes, like I said, so they are facing charges such as rioting, arson, possession of offensive weapons and things like that. So they do have cases in Hong Kong. And when reports are saying that they're trying to flee to Taiwan, of course, these people have been on bail, released on bail, and then so they're taking that chance to escape to Taiwan to seek asylum and so on. And so those are the situation of that 12 protesters in a nutshell. But regarding to other processes, other anti-government processes, there are actually a lot of them, there are thousands of them who are now facing lawsuits or who have already been detained. Some are just still awaiting for trial, but they are in custody. Some of them are released on bail. And so that's the the overview of what's happening to Hong Kong processes. We have seen a lot of prosecutions. We've seen a lot of arrests already, and let alone those very high-profile ones. For example, very prominent activists such as Joshua Wong, Agnes Chow. We've talked about it last week. And then we have Jimmy Lai and other, former lawmakers and whatnot. So I think it's fair to say that the government is definitely, cracking down on and really just chasing after those very prominent pro-democracy activists. So I hope that answered your question. It's quite. Another question there, how will Biden's election affect what China is doing in Hong Kong? It's a good question. It's still uncertain right now. A lot of people, a lot of critics and analysts have said that the attitude from Washington towards China is probably going to be kind of different from the Trump administration, comparing Biden and Trump, because Trump has been a very stern critic of China, even though, of course, he claims to be a very good friend with Xi Jinping. But we have seen that. We have seen Trump and his administration playing really hardball with China and the Communist Party, including, for example, sanctions imposed, the trade war, not to mention about that, but that's not exactly like political relevant in our sense, in the protest sense. But we have seen like US putting sanctions. We're not sure, will Biden continue with those sanctions or other kind of like punitive measures that the Trump administration has imposed on China or Chinese or Hong Kong officials. So it's unclear as of now, but we do have a lot of activists in Hong Kong. Actually, we're vying for another Trump win because of the hardball, the very stern attitude Trump has against China. So a lot of people were actually very disappointed when Biden won. Of course, that's another story in America, in the US, but here a lot of people, because exactly the uncertainty, we don't know whether Biden and his administration will keep up the very harsh attitude and measures against China. So they're worried that they will going to be soft on China, that they were just going to be friendly with China for economic sake. Of course, China and the U.S. is the world's largest and second largest economy. So I mean, it's only, I think it's reasonable to think that if, especially when the U.S. is in such a very difficult economic situation right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic, definitely Biden wants to turn the situation around. And would that mean, being on friendly terms with China again and resume trading and whatnot? So it's unclear. It's unclear, definitely. We have definitely a lot of questions in the comment section. No worries. We'll get to each one of them. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Tony and Peter, thank you so much. In the U.S., many believe that Trump is playing a game of it for his own personal benefit and not to affect any change within either China and Hong Kong. That is a fair comment, Giovanni. It is a very fair comment. I mean, we have learned to know, we've come to learn that Trump is, he thinks about his own personal benefit, his own personal interest, his own business interest, and instead of really considering others' well-being or other countries' well-being. But we also cannot deny that, even if you call it the side effects for Hong Kong people or Hong Kong protesters, it's still a valid side effect. Like, even though he's doing it out of his own interest, because he hates China so much or whatever, the side effects is that he did sanction some of those Chinese officials, assets being frozen and whatever and whatnot. So there are a considerable amount of side effects in that sense, that some Hong Kong protesters or some Hong Kong activists may see it as a small victory, And Brad, did Hong Kongers actually think Trump was on their side, or just that his toughness was better than nothing? Again, that is a fair point, fair comment. I couldn't tell you the exact answer because I'm only one of the Hong Kongers and I can't say for everyone. But I've heard comments from other people saying that, for sure, we understand that Trump is not exactly, because there's no gain in it for him, to help Hong Kong. And many analysts have said that, his toughness and his, harsh stance against China before the election was just to help him to get reelected, because that's what his supporters want to hear, anti-China and America first and whatnot. So again, yes, it's very likely that it's for his own personal gain. But like I said, that toughness, that sanctions, that, kind of like anti-China rhetoric is really echoing with some of those Hong Kong protesters, because they do share a similar sentiment in that sense, that is against China. So, it's hard to say whether people do believe that Trump is actually trying to help people in Hong Kong or help with, the movement in Hong Kong. It's hard to say, but like I said, side effects, and if it works, it works, even though it could be just a short-term thing. And like I said, because we don't know what will happen when Biden comes into office. So that's some uncertainty there for sure. But really good comments and really good questions, guys. And thank you so much for your input. Now, let's get to another updates on the pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. Now, last week, we have seen high-profile arrests, just like I mentioned at the very beginning. We have seen arrests and prosecution and jailing of prominent activists, for example, Joshua Wong, Agnes Chow from the now disbanded political group Demosisto. and of course Apple Daily's boss Jimmy Lai. So I'm gonna share the screen with you. Oop, did I not? Sorry, technical issues. We'll get to it soon. There we go. So this is Apple Daily. This guy, he's Apple Daily's boss, and Apple Daily is known as a pro-democracy tabloid in Hong Kong. They're a very vocal critic, and of course, following the boss Jimmy Lai, he himself is also a very vocal critic against China and the Communist Party, and so he has always been the target of the government and the Beijing government, because he has been very, very critical of the Chinese government. And so Jimmy Lai, he was already arrested a couple of weeks ago on conspiracy to defraud charges. That's related to how he rented a place and not following the purpose of that flat. But just yesterday, he was the Department of Justice decided to put an other charge on him, an extra charge related to national security law, and saying that he was endangering national security. And the reasons of that, or the evidence that they're trying to mount against him, is that they found Twitter activity and things like that. So it was saying that this is an article of Apple Daily itself, and they were saying that those evidence or those tweets, those posts, is that it actually happened before the national security law was enacted in Hong Kong. So that raised a lot of concerns, because people think that we never know this term called sunset clauses, meaning that does it mean or this so-called retroactive period, meaning even though the law is enacted on a certain date, and the police or the law enforcement can actually go back to an earlier date and said that, well, this post that you said, this post that you published, or this interview that you have given were in violation of the law, even though at that time the law hasn't been enacted. So in the Apple Daily article, it was saying that Jimmy Lai's comments and some posts, some tweets that he has been publishing or retweeting, it could be used against him as evidence that he was actually violating the national security law. And for example, there's this example: before the implementation of national security law are part of the allegations, including his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo last year, which is well before the national security law comes into effect, and that he calls for sanctions in other interview. And so all those efficacy and things like that, it was and he's also Andy Lee, that's one of the 12 detainees in Shenzhen as well. So there are a lot of, like I said, Jimmy Lai has been a very vocal critic, and he's involved in a lot of, for example, efficacy work, or calling for sanctions and things like that. So it's quite it's quite concerning to a lot of people, not only to me, but also, oh, it's not sharing. It's not sharing. My bad. It's not sharing right now. It's sharing. Can you guys see that? I know. Well, let me see. because of that. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. I'll give you guys a full screen to see that. So that's Jimmy Lai. And hey, max stress default. Can you see it now? I believe you can see it now. I'm seeing it on my screen. So right, there we go. This is Jimmy Lai in the green mask. He has been in detention waiting for his trial. He attended his first trial against that national security law charges just yesterday. And so in this Apple Daily article, his tabloid, they wrote about his case. So the NSL, the National Security Law charges, was a new charge that Jimmy Lai has to face, and it's regarding with his Twitter activity and his efficacy, and to calling the U.S. to sanction Hong Kong or Chinese officials and things like that. It's also in relation to that having some connections with a certain group, Fight for Freedom, Stand with Hong Kong, which is again a very popular slogans or protest chants in the past year, that a lot of people have been using this protest slogans. And so and of course, like, his Twitter account is definitely one of the one place that the police is trying to look at, trying to find evidence to use it against him. And because they followed one of the reasons that reportedly was that he followed some foreign politicians, including Pompeo, the Secretary of State in the U.S., and some other people, and Taiwanese leader Tsai Ing-wen, and some other British activists. Luke de Peford, he has been a very vocal critic against China as well, and he was actually the person who stripped one of the honorary degree, a college degree, from a Hong Kong pro-Beijing lawmakers. So that's that. And there we go. Everyone is seeing that article right now. And so yes, I mean, this is the latest on Jimmy Lai. That's him in custody. And if I change the tab, would you guys see that? Oh, no. All right. Let me change it to another tab. So another article that we see here is that, all right, let's see if that's showing. Yep, there we go. Another article that I want to show you guys is that U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has called for the release of Jimmy Lai. That's after also Pompeo tweeted that, asking for Jimmy Lai's release. This, of course, is from an earlier interview that Jimmy Lai has done with Mike Pence and whatnot. So Mike Pence actually said that he wrote, Jimmy Lai is a hero. Oops, my bad. He said, Jimmy Lai is a hero, and he is inspired by a stand for democracy and rights that were promised to the people of Hong Kong, and including this hashtag Free Jimmy Lai. And Pompeo also talking about saying that the Hong Kong NSL makes a mockery of justice, saying that Jimmy Lai's only crime is speaking the truth about Chinese Communist Party authoritarianism and fear for freedom. And he called for the charges against Jimmy Lai to be dropped and that he should be released immediately. And of course, there are other senators and other politicians and whatnot calling for the release and the charges against Jimmy Lai to be dropped. So a lot of, definitely, I mean, Jimmy Lai, he's a very prominent figure, activist in Hong Kong as well, and a lot of people do know him. And you can see that a lot of those international figures, U.S. very top officials, have been calling for his release and just let him go and free Jimmy Lai and things like that. And so definitely this has drawn a lot of controversy in in the international community. Let me get to some of those comments. There we go. Many analysts said said when Trump canceled Obama's TPP deal, who did China a huge favor. Trade war was a ploy to generate votes. Let me see. Oh, can I? Oh, there we go. Oh, and Biden will likely to have a more pro-human rights policy than Trump did. Well, yeah. I mean, we don't know. Definitely. I mean, if you look from a service, Biden does have a better record in protecting human rights, respecting human rights, and that kind of thing than Trump. But that's just like, again, it's uncertainty. We don't know because the economic situation in the U.S. has been quite poor because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and Biden definitely has this pressure on his shoulder to turn things around and things like that. So unclear. And Brad, what did Joshua and Agnes have to gain by not leaving Hong Kong? Did they just plan to be political martyrs for the cause, knowing they would probably go to prison? That is a very good question, Brad. So it has not been confirmed, but definitely, I mean, nobody really knows why they didn't leave Hong Kong and decide to own up to the charges pressed against them and things like that. But I mean, my personal analysis would be they are very prominent figures in Hong Kong, and they also have a lot of weight in the international community. I mean, everyone knows about Joshua Wong, and everyone knows about Agnes Chow. And at least for Agnes, she's very prominent in like South Asian communities. She's very famous in Japan, and not to mention Joshua. He's globally known. Basically, he was also on the cover of Time magazine, as a Person of the Year for his activism in Hong Kong. He was still a student at that time. And I mean, Joshua actually just graduated from college, so he is a very, very young activist who has done a lot of like global lobbying work. And so I would say, one of the reasons probably that when they stay in Hong Kong, then it's, one thing is that the risk for them being charged and being jailed is higher, definitely higher than, compared to they flee to other countries. And I would say from a journalistic point of view, just local journalism, local journalist, I would say, the arrest or the sentencing of Joshua Wong and prominent activists like them, that gained a lot of traction, that gained a lot of attention. And of course, with Joshua Wong, with such prominent activists like Joshua Wong, the international media would definitely cover that as well. So I guess because of one possible reason that I can think of is that, like you said, political martyr, basically. If their arrest or anything happened to them, it helps gain global attention. Then it also keeps the global eyes on Hong Kong and the movement, and the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. So that could be one of the reasons. And honestly, and like a lot of you would have observed, is that the pro-democracy movement, the protests have died down quite a lot in Hong Kong. So that could be one of the reasons. And yeah, so that could be it. We don't know. And yeah. Isn't Biden pretty tight with CCP? Well, we don't know. Definitely, we do know that either him or his son has some business ties with China. But I mean, yeah, so that's something we'll have to just look out for in the future when Biden takes office, to see how he's dealing with, businesses with China and other like political ties, diplomatic ties with China. That's something that we need to look out for, and just keep an eye out on, And all right, so this is pretty much the political updates that I have for you guys this week. But like I promised, and for those who have been following, still watching, congratulations, you get to the non-political part, which is the fun part, which I decided to do it this week. So let me just go. Should we do it now? Yay, let's go. I was talking to my partner, and we are, so actually, what I want to show you guys this week, the non-political stuff, is that we are going to sort the recyclables at my home, and then we'll go to a recycling station with you guys. Of course, I have to pause the stream in a little bit because I have to take the lift, and the network is really bad and whatnot. And so we are going to go through that part with you, the sorting part. It's really fun. Well, it's also mundane, but it's quite fun. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, my partner said, mm-hmm. So there we go. And I just want to use this chance to also raise awareness, because of this COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of us are using surgical masks. A lot of us are using, hand sanitizer, those plastic bottles. We are creating a lot of waste. Brad said, LOL. I know, but hey, it's also a pressing issue, climate change and environmental concerns, it's also a valid concern. So there we go. And I'm going to bring you guys, I'm just going to turn my computer and so that we can go to the sorting part. And because of that, I'm just going to take off my jacket because it's getting hot here. And we'll bring you. Yes, put it on a chair, of course. So we're going to go grab our recycling boxes from our kitchen right now. You can't really see me right now, but I'm going to bring you those goodies. So in my home, we have different, we have 3 kind of like this boxes, just, storage box. Really good to keep your recyclables. So we have 3 designated boxes. One for plastic, and then this one, what is this for? Oh, this is for paper. And then we have one more. Do you need help? No. Okay, there we go. And then we have the last box. Oh, we don't have much this time, but it's basically aluminum or tin can and glasses. Bottle of wine. Why not? Because we all need some wine, don't we? All right, so who would have guessed we'll be watching this? Yes, and I'm gonna give you guys this really educational part is that, and especially for plastic, I really cannot stress enough, plastic, there are those marks on those plastic bags or packaging and whatnot. They have the recycling symbol, right? Let me show you. Let me find this. Okay, there we go. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. But for example, for this yogurt container, it has a very small, oh, you probably can't really see it. There's this really small symbol. It's actually the recycling symbol. You probably can't see it, but it has the recycling triangle symbol, and it has a number 5 in it. So I don't know if you guys know, but every plastic or every plastic product, I should say, they have they use different types of plastics, and different types of plastic need different types of recycling method, or you can't just, basically it's just, you can't lump all the plastic together because they're different types of plastic. So you have to separate them and you have to sort them. So we have number 5. This is number 5. I'm going to go grab some bags so that we can put it in the designated bags. And later on, we'll go to the recycling station just near my home. And so actually most of the sorting is only needed for plastic, because I mean papers are papers. Why not? Yes, of course. Brad also said the harder plastics are very tough to recycle. I'm not super knowledgeable about that, but I only know that plastics are generally very hard to recycle anyways. So my always principle is that try to avoid plastic. And next time I really want to show you guys like the green and like how to live a minimal waste lifestyle. So I'm just gonna sort this thing. And those folks, so for those for the recycling station near my house, they have a bin designated to plastic that doesn't have like recycling numbers on it, or it's not like specified what kind of plastics. Those are really difficult because you do want to recycle them, but then you don't know where to put them, and you don't want to just put them into those like numbered bins because they're different. And for those who need to deal with those recycling materials later on, it will be a headache for them. And I don't want to be that person who gives them that headache. So I'm going to just put the non-specific ones. So there are a lot of things that you can recycle. I mean, even though, you know, these are for like toilet rolls. And so I just, because they don't have a number, so I'm just going to put them in the non-specific ones for now. And hey, you know what? For those who use Temple napkins or packet tissue, they actually have the recycle number. It's actually 04. So this is plastic number 4. Do they not have curbside trash pickup in Hong Kong? No, we don't have curbside because we don't live in houses, right? So, oops, I just put it in the wrong bag. Gosh, I got distracted. No, we don't have curbside trash pickup. Most of the apartment buildings in Hong Kong, we have this kind of like centralized trash dumping system. So we have like this huge tunnel where you just like throw all the trash and it will go to like the ground floor. They have this big like collection pile and things like that. So yeah. And so for those bottles like this, they're usually plastic number 1. Oh, and this is actually a very good example because do you want to join me, darling, and introduce everyone to you? Come have a seat. Don't know if they can see you here. Oh, they probably can. Yeah, I can't really see you. Just sit down. So everyone, this is my partner, Acacia. I'm just gonna tilt the screen up a little bit. Hi, everyone. And so we are going to sort our recyclables. So like I said, this is a very good example. Why? Because for bottles like this, you have the cap, right? So basically, actually, you need to separate the cap and the bottle. There's a high chance that they are made with different types of plastic. So you do need to separate them and put it into different bins. And also, that there's this like ring with these bottles. Again, those are probably of different type of plastic. So you actually need to cut that out. And one tip that I have for you guys is even if you cut it out, it still looks like a ring. And I'm sure many of you have seen those videos of, you know, like a straw or like a ring cling onto those sea animals, which is really sad. It always makes me very sad. So my tip is that you further cut it into half so that it wouldn't be a ring shape and it wouldn't be, you know, stuck with those sea animals and, you know, like suffocate them or whatever. And if you have those drinks with like what do you call it, the wrappings, then you also have to cut out those wrappings. Brett said hi to you. Hi. And these actually can be recycled too. Those like foam little like wrap your fruit around thingy. I don't know what to call it, but yeah. I mean, not all the recycling stations take them, but fortunately ours take them. So we're gonna take this to recycle as well. It's probably gonna take us some time, but for those who want to follow us, that is the, and just ask us any questions. This is, oh, this is PP. What's PP again? I forgot. PP is 1? You sure? I'm doing a search. And sometime, if you don't have the number, if you don't have the numbers and only have, because there are different types of plastic. So just now we have number 5 for the yogurt box. I'm just like Googling right now. Right, there we go. Oh no, number 1 is PET. So number 1 is PET. Number 2 is HDPE. Those are like short form for like the plastic name. Yeah, plastic 5 is PP, polypropylene. So because I don't have a number on this yogurt lid, but it says PP, so that's number 5. I'm gonna put it there. Okay, these are all like unidentifiable. These are unidentifiable. That's it. PP, yes, 5. And I just want to say, so I've been watching this show called One Small Step on Now This. It's a really good show that I really enjoy. I want to point out this one thing. Oh, I forgot my contact lens. And for those who wear contact lens like I do, the trick is every day, and especially if you're using those like day contact lens. Giovanni, yes, we are literally killing the oceans with all the plastic. Yes, it is. And so for those who use contact lens like I do, the thing that I usually do is that I use the contact lens inside, and I'll pour the water, and they usually come with this like aluminum foil, right? So I pull it, I take it out, I throw the aluminum foil away, and I wash this little guy, because those contact lenses are usually soaked in saline water. So if you don't wash it, you'll see some like salt sediment in this plastic little bowl. So I usually just, when I put my contact lens on, I'll just like wash it, and then I dump it into this like little box that I have to keep all the contact lens recyclables. So there we go. Should I just bring the? Yeah. Oh yeah. And they are actually number 5. You probably can't see that, but it says number 5. So yes, it is number 5. So check your contact lenses. If you wear contact lens, check the packaging and see if they're recyclable. I think they usually are. So there we go. Do we have the paper sorted out? Do you need a bag? Yeah. 1 enough? Okay. And then yeah, and so for drinks cans like this as well. I mean, I usually, when I buy drinks, I usually buy those with like this tin can, so that I don't need to buy plastic ones, and or just buy like glass bottles. Those are easier to be recycled there, and they're less harmful to the environment. So I usually buy them. And one tip that I have is that, and for example, when people come to my place and like have parties and they drink beers, I usually tell them, and a lot of people like to, like, after they drink beer, they will like squeeze the can and it will like deform it. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. That doesn't look cool at all. The reason why is everything you take to recycle, you have to wash them first. That is a big, big tip. So, and if you squeeze the beer bottle or beer can, you can't properly wash it inside because there'll be dents and whatnot. So it's more difficult to wash them. So what I usually do, I just like leave it like that, and I run it through water, and I shake it, and I clean the inside. So make sure inside is clean, and make sure it's dry, properly dried, and into the recycling bin. Yeah, so that's the same for everything, like tin can, glass bottles, plastic bottles. Clean them before you recycle them. You don't want, the recycling station is not another trash station, so you don't want to make them stink. And please be considerate to those who recycle your stuff. They're really important people. All right, so I would appreciate if someone do the research and let me know how many surgical masks and how many like plastic waste we have created during this pandemic. It's a really, really sad thing to think about. So yeah, really, really sad. All right, well, we will bring you guys to the recycling station in just a bit, and let us pack up, and we'll see you guys in a bit. And I would expect someone to do me that research. I'm sorry, I'm too lazy. I'm actually too busy with the recycling part. So if someone could tell me the amount of waste that we've created during this pandemic, that would be good. Yeah, I mean, Brad, that's a really sad thing. Exactly. We do have like recycling bins in Hong Kong as well. But those are just like a big, big trash bin. And usually they have no sortings. And if you think that, have you guys seen the tricolor? I don't know if you guys have that thing in the US or in other countries, but we have like the tricolor bins in Hong Kong. So we have yellow for tin cans. We have wait, no, did I remember wrongly? I probably did. But they have like the plastic and then tin and then the paper recyclables. And some studies and some media reports found out that in Hong Kong, those bins were actually all one big bin. So they're not actually separated, which is really stupid because essentially you just make it a huge trash bin, and it makes no sense at all. So that's why I usually take them to like proper recycling stations, and that's why. And I mean, the recycling station that I'm going to, it's actually also a government initiation in Hong Kong. So they're doing, like, they're trying to set up those recycling stations in each district in Hong Kong. We have 18 districts in Hong Kong, and so far, I believe there's only recycling stations at only like 4 or 5 districts. So we still have a long way to go, but I'm glad that I live near one, so I can do my part. And so yeah. You guys check that number and let me know in just like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm just gonna pop downstairs and I'll call you guys back. Well, call you guys back. I'll stream again, and so that you guys can follow me again. All right, we'll see you in just a bit.